Stepping to the edge now, heart beating so loud. Sky's calling my name, time to play the game. Feet leave the ground, I hope I won't fall down, no. Trust.
Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon, good evening. It is evening time. Good evening, everybody. My name is Audrey Bell Kearney. Thank you so much for joining me. I am the bookpreneur. And I'm happy you guys are here today. Listen, do me a favor. Um, Drop a hello, let me know where you're from in the chat box, where you're located, and we're gonna get started in a second. I want to know where you're coming from, where you're doing, what you're doing, how you're doing, and all that good stuff. I'm happy to be here with you guys today. I got a great presentation for you. I'm excited about it because I know that people have been asking me ever since I wrote this book. I've written 3 books, and I forgot one of them. But anyway, I've written 3 books for AI. But I wanted to talk about the process. So thank you so much for joining me this evening. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Audrey Bell Kearney. I am an author. I think I've published 11 books at this point, and so I got a little bit of experience under my belt. Actually, I want to share some books with you that I've published and when I started. So, um, this book right here, this was the first book that I co-authored. It was called the Cookbook to Romance, and this was a book that Georgette, my friend Georgette, and Adele, we co-authored this together. This was the very first book. It was co-authored in 1998. So I've been doing this a very long time. What was interesting about this book is that Adele was really into church. I was into church. Georgette wasn't really into church, but Adele was afraid that if her pastor read the book, he would frown on her, because the book says the cookbook to romance. And we have some little risque, relationship recipes in the book. And here's the funny thing: it's out of date, 1998. Georgette shot the cover in her house. That's so she set up this whole little set right here. She set that up and she shot the cover inside of her house on her table. So that was her doing. And it's funny because I look back now, you can see the writing on the back is really small. The writing on the inside is really tiny, right? But this was the first book I ever co-authored. On the book, my name on the book is Dominique Pierre. So we didn't use our real name, we used pen names because um Adele was afraid that her pastor would think something about her using her real name. And then later on, he said, that's a book that people in the church need anyway. They need to know about how to be, how to have a good relationship. So that was in 1998. My next book I wrote was in 19, no, not 19. When was this book written? 2001. 2001. I got some hate mail on this book. This book was called 69 Ways of Knowing You're in an Effed Up Relationship, and I used AJ Bell. At that time I wasn't married, so and then G Taylor was Georgette again. Because so the story behind this book was, the book came about because one of my friends was, and I was having a conversation. We was talking about relationships, and it was one night, and I decided, you know what, that's effed up. I'm gonna write a book about that. So I just wrote a book about it. It's so simple, you guys. Look, there's nothing hardly on any of the pages. Simple. So originally the book was supposed to be 64 pages, and Georgette said she had it 5 to add to it, and it made it 69. So she added 5 pages to the book, 5 things that was happening in her life that made you think, that let you know that you was in a effed up relationship. I got a lot of hate mail from this book. Like, people was sending me hate mail and nasty telephones, like, you must be in an effed up relationship. They were pissed off. So I think I touched the nerve with this one. But it's a real cute book. Again, out of date. It's not now, and so to let you know how old this is, one of the stories, and one of the ways in the book was about pagers. So it was something about your pager. I can't even remember what it was. So that was way back when. That was 2001. This book right here, and I'm sharing all this with you so you can see, like, my background in self-publishing. This book right here was 2007. So this book was a book that I wrote 2007. It came with the workbook. By that time, I had got a little bit more sophisticated. I knew a little bit more about what the process was like. And what was interesting about this book, people would see the cover, because I did the cover in Word, like a Word document, and they would for some reason they couldn't put the six figure together. They would just say figure sister, and I was like, it's supposed to be six figure sister. So that's what that was. Bigger Sister. That was 2007. This book right here, The Big Idea. So the big idea was the dolls that you see. The big idea was the dolls that you see on here. This was a big idea that God gave me. I shared it with my friend Georgette, and we invented these dolls that's on the cover of this book. So that was our big idea. But what happened was people started to ask me about how to start a business and how to do all these things. So I wrote this book in 2013. So this book was in 2013. So, and I wrote that because I used to get so many questions about how to start a business, how to start a business, how to start a business. And the book was based on what's your big idea. This book has been redone and it's on Amazon. The latest, but it's still kind of old, but it's on Amazon. The latest version is on Amazon. All right. Now this book right here, I wrote a self-publishing book long time ago. This was the newest version, and this book came out in 2017. Now, my first book was called The ABCs of Self-Publishing, and that book is somewhere around this house. I don't know where it is, but that was the first book. This is the second edition of that book because by 2017, things had changed. So I think I probably wrote the ABCs of Self-Publishing around the same time I did the Big Idea. And this book kind of walks you through the process of self-publishing your book, what you need to do and things like that. So that was 2017. All right. 2000 and I've been writing a long time and I'm sharing this so you can see, like, I might know a little something, something. This book came out in 2019. It's called Pod Chicks. So Pod Chicks, I wrote this book when I went to Podfest, and I went to Podfest, and when I went to Podfest, I wrote this book when I came back because I was so excited about it. Can y'all hold on 1 second for me? I just need to mute myself for 1 second. All right, sorry about that. This book I wrote, I went to Podfest for the very first time in 2019. I was so excited. I had never gone to a podcast conference. I had been podcasting since 2009, but they didn't have conferences, or if they did, I didn't know about them. But so I decided to go to Podfest in Florida. And when I got there, I met all of these amazing women who were podcasters. And so I wrote this book about women who podcast. Now, I have a book about how to start a podcast, but I don't have it in the house with me. It's in my car because I had a book signing yesterday. But this is Pod Chicks, and it came out in 2019. I had a whole little thing about Pod Chicks. All right, now let's talk about, God darn it, I forgot my latest book. Give me a second. Give me 1 second. That's all I needed was a second. So this book right here came out last year, I think. Was it last year? Uh, Yes, this book came out last year. I wrote this book because I wanted people to understand, small businesses to understand, like, how to leverage AI. I also wrote a book about podcasting, an up-to-date book. Now, I can tell you that this was my second book that I wrote with AI. This is the second book. So this is a nonfiction book. My podcasting book, which is in the car because I had a book signing, was also written with AI, which is a nonfiction book. So I was able to design a cover with Canva, and then I was able to lay the book out based on what I wanted people to know, like all the tools that I was using. So I did all the layout and everything. Everything was kind of laid out with AI and Microsoft Word. So that's that one. This book right here came out earlier this year, I think it was. Yes. So this book is a hardcover book. This is hardcover, right? Now, this book I actually wrote because it was kind of simple, and I leveraged AI to edit it because it just tells the story of the women who were founders of the Gwinnett Women's Chamber, where I am the president and one of the co-founders. Can't hear me? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Type yes if you can hear me, please. This book right here came out this year, earlier this year. This year. Okay, cool. All right. This book came out earlier this year, and this book was a book that I wrote because I wanted to. We launched the Gwinnett Women's Chamber of Commerce, and I wanted our story to be a part of Gwinnett County's history. So I wrote a book, and it's going to be in the library, so that way people can actually see the book. And so if when I kick the book will still be here. So we did that book. That was earlier this year. Now, fast forward to today, this book, and my books are in the car because I had a book signing yesterday. This book is my newest book, and it is my first fiction. I'm excited, which is why I wanted to share this with you guys. And I'm going to talk about the difference between doing a fiction and a nonfiction. This is my first fiction book. It's called The Lying Legacy, and this is the author's copy for the proofs, but I have a whole box of them downstairs because I've got a book signing on Saturday too. But this is my first fiction that I did totally everything AI. The cover is AI. The everything inside the book is AI. The images in the book are AI. The entire book was pretty much AI, and it was exciting. So I wanted to share all that with you so you can see that I have not just started doing this. I've been doing this a very, very, very long time, and um, I've helped people. I've helped hundreds and hundreds of people do the same thing. I had a publishing company called Milestone Publishing that I launched back in 2000, and I think it was 2000 or 2001. I can't even remember. It was the same year that 9/11 happened. I launched Milestone Publishing, and when 9/11 happened, I was freaked out, and so I moved into the office in June. I moved out in September because my office was on Evergreen Place. Shout out to East Orange. My office was on Evergreen Place, on the fifth floor, and I was afraid to go back into the building. So I moved all of my stuff out after spending some time in the office. And 9/11 happened. I was scared because that day was like the changing day for a lot of us in the world. And for me, I'm a little bit of a scaredy cat sometimes. I was afraid to go back in the building and work there, thinking that because I'm on the fifth floor, my office was at the end of the hallway, that somebody was going to fly an airplane into the building or do a bomb or something. So that business opened and then it closed. Just as quick as it opened, it closed down. But in the interim, I was able to help other authors publish their books. I've been doing workshops on publishing and podcasting for a long time. So I've been doing this a while. So I just wanted to share that part with you so you guys get an idea of who I am and what I've been doing for the last 27 years or 27 years, 27, I think. I lose track sometimes. 27 years. So tonight I want to share with you how I went about doing these books with AI. It is changing the game. The way we do things is changing. So I want to share my screen. We're going to use Chat GPT. So with the books, with my two books, and it's really three of them, but the other one is in the car. But with this book and with the Lyran Legacy, I use Chat GPT. And so Chat GPT is a tool that has allowed us to do so many great things in this space. So when I think about where we have come from, ChatGPT came on the scene in 2022 at the end, like November 2022. It popped on the scene. Now, AI has been around for a long time. We have not been able to use it the way we are able to use it right now, right? So when it came out to the general public where we can actually use it, that was November 2022. I instantly fell in love with what it was doing and just went head over heels and just dived deep into it. But here lately, over the last year, I've been looking at some different uses, like how can I use it to grow my business? How can I use it to write more books? So is allowing me to do some other stuff in this space. What's interesting is a lot of authors were upset. A lot of authors who have been writing for a long time, they were upset because they felt like Chat GPT was being trained on their work, and they felt like anybody who did not write the work was stealing their work. And so and part of that was kind of true, right? A little bit. But Chat GPT and all of the other smart tools out there have been trained on so much content. So it's kind of hard for me to figure out, it's kind of hard for me to understand, like, well, how do you know where it's pulling from? Because it's pulling from so much content. Think about this. There are 7 billion people on the planet, and most of them are on the internet, and every day they go on there and they search for something, they write in something, they share something, they talk about something, they post something. It is pulling from all of those platforms. And so for a second I was like, oh, that's terrible, I feel like I felt bad because I felt like maybe I'm stealing somebody's stuff. But then when I looked at it, I'm like, yeah, but my stuff is out there. Like my first self-publishing book out there floating in the universe long before Chat GPT was around. Like when I wrote the ABCs of self-publishing, which was probably in the early 2000s, there was no chat GPT. That was me sitting to the computer and typing. So I had to make peace with, you know what, Audrey, you have to adopt to the technology. It's going to change rapidly, and it's okay because there are going to be so many new opportunities that come because of this. So fast forward to right now. um AI is moving so fast. It's unbelievable. From where we were in 2022 to where we are right now, we had Chat GPT first. Now we have Watson by IBM. Watson has always been around, but nobody talked about Watson because nobody's really using IBM. But we have Watson by IBM. We have Copilot by Microsoft. We have Claude by Anthropic, which Amazon bought. We have Gemini and Jarvis. I gotta tell y'all about Jarvis by Google. We have Meta, and then we have one called Perplexity, and I'll tell you about that in a minute. So we have all of these tools, and these are just the writing tools. These are just like the main writing tools. There are so many, there's thousands and thousands of AI tools. So when I decided I wanted to write my first book, leveraging AI, it was a nonfiction book. It was my publishing, my podcasting book. Now I had already wrote Pod Chicks without AI, had already written it. So even though the book talks about stories, in the back of the book, it talks about how to start a podcast. So this was long before, remember I said ChatGPT came out in 2022. This was long before ChatGPT came out. So I did that the old fashioned way. Fast forward to last year, I did my first book, which is my podcasting book, Podcasting 101, with ChatGPT. Now, let's talk about what I'm going to talk about today. All right. I wanted to make this make sense. If you are going to write a nonfiction book, which is a book like this, or a book like this, right? Or a book like this, or a book like this. If you're going to write nonfiction, you want to make sure that you do a lot of fact checking, right? So if you're going to do that, I would suggest before you even touch Chat GPT, you actually write down what you know. The other thing I want to say is all of the things that I've ever written about was things that I know about, things that I lived about. Like when I wrote the book on self-publishing, that's because I had self-published. When I wrote the book about the dolls and starting a business, that's because I had started a business. When I wrote the book about starting a chamber, that was because I started a chamber. When I wrote the book about all the AI tools that a small business could use, that's because I was paying a lot of money using a lot of tools every month. So all of the things that I've ever written about was things that I had lived through. So if you're going to write a book using AI, do not just write a book using AI, a nonfiction book, just based on the fact that it's AI. Don't do that, because now sometimes the AI gets a little cranky. It's better now, but it may put in some false facts. So if it's not something that you know, go out and do a lot of research, and then take that research, and I'll show you how to prompt your Chat GPT so it'll start writing for you. When I wrote podcasting, the book on podcasting, listen, I live and breathe podcasting. I podcast 5 days a week, sometimes six to 7 days a week, podcast every day. So for me, I've podcast probably over 2,000 episodes at this point. I spoke at Podfest 3 times. I spoke at Podcast on at Sea. I spoke at She Podcast. Listen, so I live and breathe podcasting. So when it wrote the book, I could just skim through the book. So yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Everything was pretty much true, but it was a simple book because it was just showing somebody how to start a podcast. Now, you can easily go out online and find a whole bunch of stuff about how to start a podcast, but there are some people who don't like to go online. They don't want to go online. They want to read. And that's another thing. They want to read. So even though I could have just said, hey, take my class, which people have done, some people just want to read. They don't want to see me. They don't want to talk to me. They just want to read the content, and that's what they've done. If you're going to write a nonfiction, do all of your research, because that book is telling people how to solve a problem, and you don't want to give out the incorrect information on how to solve a problem. So do your research first before you start prompting ChatGPT to write the book. Now, I write fiction. I wrote this last book, it was fiction. I write nonfiction, but the last book I wrote was fiction. What I liked about this was what I did was I had ideas about what I wanted to go into the book. So I wrote what's called a prompt. So let's go over to Chat GPT real quick. Let's take this off, put this up. All right, let's go to Chat GPT. So in here, this is your prompting area, right? So I want to, I'm going to go into my account. This is my account. I have a paid, I have a paid Chat GPT account. I use Chat GPT a lot. If you can see right here, I use it a lot. There's a lot that I use it for. All of these things on the left hand side right here. Some of these are my personal GPTs that I created inside of Chat GPT, which you can do that as well. But what I did was I went inside of Chat GPT. I hit Explore GPTs, right? Because I knew somebody had probably already created the GPT that right. If you click on writing, right? I did book writing. Let's do book writing. Book writing. So if you type book writing, so this is I used the book writing GPT right here, this one. And I used it because it had a 4.5. And when I decided to use it, I said, you know what? It's got a 4.5 rating. Over 5,000 people like it. Let's use this. So then you hit start chat, right? Now, it looks almost the same, except for right now, it's inside of the book writing GPT that's owned by this guy named Kenneth. All of the GPTs on the left right here, like these 16 on this side, these are mine. Podcast startup, PodCon directory, local marketing, web traffic navigator, client prospector, network marketing, coach, PR coach, solar bot, plan master. These are mine. These are the ones that I created inside of ChatGPT. This book writing one was created by somebody named Kenneth Bastian. I don't know who he is. Now, when you get ready to write your book, think about what you want your book to be. So if someone want to drop in the chat real quick, drop in something that you want a book to be. Now don't drop in something that you may want to use as a book. Drop in just anything. Write a book about something. Tell me what you want to write a book about. Just drop it in the comments, and I'm gonna post it up. Now don't write it, don't drop it if you're going to use it. Just give me something random, and I'll show you how this works. All right, no random idea. Okay, so let's think about this. So when I was a little girl, when I was a little girl, my grandmother, um, my grandmother sold vodka out the back door. My uncle and I was having this conversation the other day, and he was telling me, he's like, yeah, because mama used to sell, like, the people would come up and they would get shots, right? And I remembered that. And I was a little girl. My grandmother passed when I was like 8 years old. But I remembered that. I remember people coming up to the back porch. And I remember they would come down the alley, come up on the back porch. My grandmother had shot glasses, and she would take Secret Lives. Okay, so Angela put Secret Lives. All right, let's pop that on the screen. Secret Lives. Okay, we're going to write a book about secret lives. So let's do Secret Lives of. Ooh, let's do Secret Lives. Write a book about secret lives. Secret lives of married women who are 55 years old or older. Make it spicy, but age appropriate. Appropriate. Am I spelling that right? Probably not. Appropriate. Okay. All right. So I said write a book about sacred lives. Okay. So it's giving us a title. The hidden desires, untold stories, untold desires of women in bloom. That's the title he's giving us. Oh God, that's hilarious. So the theme of the book is rediscovery of passion. Each woman, through different circumstances, rekindles a long lost part of herself. The secret beneath the surface, exploring how long-term relationships shift and how secrets are sometimes kept to preserve or break a relationship. Age and freedom. These women, empowered by their age and experience, redefine personal freedom on their own terms. Empowerment and friendship. The strength of friendships between women and the support they offer each other. Okay, so that's the title. This is the theme of the book. It's giving you four themes. It's giving you the setting. The story will primarily take place in a picturesque suburban town where these women live. It's a place that appears quaint on the surface, but underneath, each home harbors a tale waiting to be told. The community has an elite country club, a library, and a serene lake. A perfect juxtaposition for a layered lives of the women. All right, so you got your characters. You got Vivian Matthews. She's 58. She's a former dancer turned yoga instructor. You got Rita Gonzalez, a successful real estate agent. This is funny. You got Evelyn Baker. So Rita is 62. Evelyn Baker is 55. She hosts a book club. Maggie Wilson is 60. She's a retired school teacher. Oh God, that's funny. And Clara Chin is 59 and she's an artist with children. Okay, so those are your characters. All right, here your chapter outline. See how simple this is? This is crazy. Now you can literally sit here and do this entire book like tonight. Chapter 1, a glass of Chardonnay. That's chapter 1. So that talks about, the women that gather weekly at Vivian's house for gossiping and sharing stories. Then chapter 2, the art of seduction. Vivian attends a tango night at a hidden club in the city. All right, now Vivian. All right, chapter 3, online affairs. Rita decides to explore online forum for over 55 singles. All right. Pen names and paperbacks. Evelyn, who has always considered the quiet intellectual one, start penning a romance novel on an anonymous website. All right, now Evelyn, Angie, this sounds like a good book. Chapter 5, the contractor. Maggie becomes fascinated with the new contractor. He's young. Yeah, okay. He's young and he's charming. Okay. Chapter 6, Portrait of Desire. Clara hides her series of provocative paintings of herself. Go ahead on, Clara. Chapter 7, Boundaries Blurred. Each woman faces a moment when their secret lives start to cross into their real lives. Chapter 8, The Dancer Returns. So as you can see, you got all of these different chapters. So this book has 17 chapters. 17 chapters. So now what you would do now is you would go chapter by chapter and you would say, because now the computer already knows that these are the chapters. So you would say, write the write the write the content for chapter 1. Write the content for chapter 1. Chapter 1. You want, let's see how many words we want. We want each chapter. Let me see. Let's say write the content content for each chapter. Each chapter should be 10 pages. No, 5 pages. 5 pages. Start writing chapter 1. Write the content for each chapter. Each chapter should be each chapter should be 5 pages. All right. All right. All right. So it's writing. There it is. There's chapter 1, a glass of Chardonnay. It's still writing. This is why this is so cool. Like you could literally spend a day and write the entire book. I wrote my book. I wrote the Lyran Legacy in one day. I wrote it I sat here. I said I wanted to have 20 chapters. I want each chapter to have 10 pages. and write the book. And so what happens is, so it's writing 5 pages to each chapter. And you can say how many pages you want. So for me, 10 pages, that came out to 179 page book. Um, and I felt like that was a good, because I felt like people didn't really want to. So right now it's ready to write chapter number 2. All right. So when you think about how big you want your chapters, right? You could say, I personally said I wanted 10 pages to each chapter. So in the Lyran Legacy, I have 20 chapters. But then when I started to do some editing, I took out some stuff and it got me down to 179 pages when I was done. Because I took some stuff out. Like I took out a chapter that I didn't like. Um, I added in some stuff. I did a lot of editing. This process allows you to write the entire book. Then what you have to do is go back and look at what you have written and take out stuff, because there was a part in the book on page 100, and I think it was 130 and 30 130 to 132. It didn't make any sense. And so if you bought the very first book when it went on Amazon, you have a very rare book, because when I discovered that that doesn't make sense, I went back and edited the book and re-uploaded it to Amazon. So I took it out. So if you have that first book, the first edition of Lyran Legacy, you have a very rare book with that big error in there. So there's a section in the book that I deleted because I didn't like it. But if you bought the book when it first came out, you have a rare book. So please let me sign it if you see me. So you can go in there and you can actually write down how many chapters you want. You can write down how long you want your chapters to be, things like that. You can write short books, you can write ebooks. It's up to you what you want to write. It's unlimited, guys. Let me just let's do this real quick. I'm gonna go back over. I'm gonna ask it to create an image. Let me see, maybe I don't know if I can create it in here. Maybe not. Let me see. Create an image for chapter 1. So it's creating an image. So this if you wanted an image. You may not need an image, but I just wanted to show you, like, if you decided you want to put images in the book, you can create the images as you go. Check that out. So that's the image that it just created for chapter 1. You may say, oh, create a better image, make it more diverse, create a new image and make it more diverse. These images, like when I did the Lyran Legacy, I have images in that book. Book number 2, I probably won't put images in, but I wanted to put book. Okay, see, now it's more diverse. It's a little bit more laid back. You could take that and put it in the book. My Lyran Legacy, each chapter had a book, so I got 20 chapters in that book, and each chapter has an image in it. You don't have to do that. That was just something that I decided I wanted to do, because I wanted to, because of the way the genre of the book, I want to get the book into comic book stores. Not that it's a comic book, but people like to read fantasy, and I felt like they would want to read. They would want to see like a picture or something in the book. Fast forward to book numbers 2 through 8. I'm not going to add images in the book, because I just feel like it doesn't really match the story. Any questions before I move on? Any questions? Drop your questions in the chat box. If I'm going too fast, let's say, or to repeat something, I don't mind repeating it. That's why we're here. All right. So no questions. All right. So when you think about, your book, think about what you want the story to be about. I'm going to write a book that's Okay, I'm gonna write a book about that story about my grandmother, and this is a way for you to make sure your book is authentic, because your stories, your personal stories, are your stories. A lot of people get freaked out because they say AI is stealing stuff, and it's really it's kind of is, but it kind of isn't, because there's so much content out there, and as we progress in the space of AI, they're just making them so they become smarter and smarter and smarter. But if you're worried about that, the way for you to be a little bit more authentic is to put your own story inside of the story. So where we wrote the prompt at, so let's say, for instance, my grandmother, I was about to tell you a story about my grandmother. My uncle and I were having a conversation, and we were talking about how she used to sell like the vodka shots, and when I was a little girl, right? And I didn't even know back then, and she probably didn't either. She was an entrepreneur, because she had a little side hustle, and that was like selling the shots out of the back of the house. So I was like, I'm gonna write a book about that. So that story, when I get ready to do that book, it's gonna be part fiction, part nonfiction, because it's gonna talk a lot about who she was and what she did, but then we're gonna throw in some fiction to embellish it, if that makes sense. So that makes it a story that's part fiction, part nonfiction, but it's a fiction, if that makes sense. So it's not like the only way for the computer to tell my story, to tell this story the way I want to tell it, it is thoughts that come out that's coming out of my head about my childhood as a 7 to 8 year old child, what I remember about my grandmother, and I'm just gonna tell it to embellish it some. I'm just gonna say, hey, and then put this in there and say this about this. Like I'm gonna describe her house, like where she lived, right? She lived on a they lived in a house. It was like, I don't know, I think they call them a shanty house. So the house was like, it was old, the wood was old, like it had a tin roof. Like when it rained, the rain sounded like it was gonna come through the house. It was all wooden. It set on like these brick blocks, like so because my brother and I used to go up under the house and play in the dirt. I remember that. So that's going to be in the story. So I'm gonna give it all of the information that I want to give it, and then put it in the story. Now, I want to show y'all something pretty cool. Before you start to write. So if you decide that the only thing you're going to use Chat GPT for is to write books, I want you to look at this right here. So I'm going up here to the left hand corner, and it says customize Chat GPT. Click that. All right, in this space right here, this is everything about me. So I use Chat GPT a lot. I use it for articles, I use it for blogging, I use it a lot. But what I did was I trained it on me. I trained it on who I am. I gave it my name. I gave it my age. I said that I grew up in the inner city with a single mother and a brother. So I told it a lot about who I was because I needed it to be able to write me within my writing. Right. So I needed when I'm writing my articles, and this is mostly used for article writing. When I'm writing articles and I got to put out content on my websites and things like that, if I say write me a 1,500 word article about podcasting and how to leverage podcasting to promote your book. Because it knows all of this information about me, everything here about me, and all of this information right here, because it knows about me, it is trained on me. I have trained it on me. Now, that being said, that could be a little scary because a lot of people are definitely afraid of their privacy being, taken or whatever. I'm not, because we have a phone. I don't feel like we have privacy anyway because we have a cell phone that we walk with and it tracks us everywhere we go. So I'm not, that doesn't bother me. Like for some people it's like, oh my God, it's invading my privacy. It's going against the privacy rules, whatever. We don't have any privacy. That's what we have. TVs that talk, we have radios that talk, we got smart speakers that talk, we got phones that talk and follow you. We don't have any privacy. I want to put out the best content possible, so I train my GPT on me. If you know that you're going to use this just for writing books all the time, then train your GPT on you. You go in there, you tell it about yourself. You got 1,500 characters. I told it, where I live. I told it, how long I've been an entrepreneur. I told it about the books I've written. I told it about the things I've created. All of that stuff is in here so it knows who I am. And then I said, I need it to be friendly. When you write for me, I need you to write in a friendly voice as if, you're talking to my best friend, right? And then you come down here and you give a little bit more information about you. You're your coach, your podcaster, your author. This is about you. So you tell it that this is who you are. These are all the things I do. This is going to help you, and it's going to help the GPT write for you. It's going to help the GPT write in your voice, right? And that way, when it's writing, even though you tell it to write about, the secret lives of women, but it also has all of this information about me. So part of that information in here probably did just go into what I just wrote. So I just wanted to share that. If you know that a lot of what you're going to be doing is writing books and you're not going to change a lot of stuff, then go in there and type the type of books you want to write. I want to write romance books. They're going to be like Afro lit, or they're going to be like, boomer lit or Gen X lit, and it's about this, that, and the third. It's about fetishes. It's about whatever it's about, right? That's what you're going to put in there. So when you start to write, it's gonna go back and say, okay, well, she likes this, she talks like this, she like that. The other thing too about ChatGPT is when you go in there and write stuff, it remembers what you write. So I had this happen to me the other day. I thought it was kind of funny. I write so much. This is all my stuff. The stuff right here on the left, these are all the articles, everything I've written. I use it every day to write something. Every day to write something. So I went in there and I asked it a question and it gave me back the perfect answer, right? But then when I'm looking at it, I'm like, first I was like, wow, it really knows me. But it really does because I have trained it on myself. So now the answer that I was looking for from that question, I don't feel like it's a good answer because it knows me too well. It's kind of like dating somebody and they get to know you real well, so they get to throw back at you what you said to them because they know you that well. That's what's happening right now. Like it gave me back an answer based on all of the stuff that it knew about me, and I'm like, oh crap, that sucks because now I can't get a good answer. Before I trained it on myself, I could get a good answer about stuff. Now I don't feel like I'm gonna get a good answer about me. And I asked some kind of, I don't know, I asked some kind of question about branding or something. And it gave me like this, all of these things I should do. And I'm like, so in my mind, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm already doing that. I'm already doing that. That's because I trained it and I've been writing on it and it memorizes what you put in. So whatever you put in there, it's memorizing that stuff. And when you go back in there, it can pick up kind of where you left off. All right. All right. Any questions? Any thoughts? It's not a lot, y'all. Like it's not a lot to use a software. You saw me do the outline. You go in there and you tell it the right chapter number one. You tell it how many pages you want, and then after you finish writing the whole thing, then you take all of those chapters. So what I'd like to do is, as they write a chapter, I'll go and copy the chapter. I'll go back and copy that chapter, and then I'll paste it into Word. So I just copy the whole thing, and I like to copy. I like to hold down the copy. Like ChatGPT has a copy button. I don't like the copy button because it has a lot of characters. Like this right here is a copy button. I don't use that very often because when you do that, it has all these extra characters in it that, I don't like. So I just highlight everything like this and copy everything over. And then I'll go into Word. Let me just open up that real quick. That's not opening. What's wrong with my Word? Hmm. All right, okay. So I'm going to do a new document. I always set my page margins to I don't know, my computer doing so funky. I always set my page margins to 6 by 9. So when your size, your book size, so you just do a 6 by 9 because that's like a good paperback size. And you can just go into my computer's doing something crazy, so you can't see what I just did, but go into your page size and just change the 8.5 to 6 by 9. So that way you know right out the gate that your sizing is already correct. Now, when you do this, it's going to show you how many pages that you have. So 6 by 9 is what I always use for my books. Click OK. I'm going to paste this right here. So I said 5 pages, that's 5 pages. See there? That's 5 pages. So this is how you get to a book that has a lot of pages because that has 17 chapters and then 17 chapters times what's that? 5 pages? 17 times 5, what is that? And you need at least about 74 pages to have a book. But I wanted a book, so that's 17 times 5 equals 85 pages. So that's going to give you 85 pages. By the time you put in a copyright page and, your about the author page and some other stuff and some dedication pages, you're going to probably have about 90 pages. If you want more than that, you can say do 10 pages a chapter. And I just copy and paste chapter by chapter because this way you don't have to try to go back and do it all. So every time it writes a chapter, because what's going to happen is when you write a chapter, it's going to keep pushing it down. So in order for you not to have to go back and copy everything at once, it'll write chapter 2. So I'm going to say write chapter 2 right now. And then chapter 2 is going to be the next thing. Write chapter 2. So it's going to write chapter 2, The Art of Seduction. It's going to write 5 pages. I'm gonna copy those 5 pages. I'm gonna go back to Word. I'm gonna drop it in, and I'll keep going. You can sit here in one day and do the whole thing. Like you probably sit here in an hour and a half and do the entire thing, and the book is done. Then you just go through and read through it and see what you want in it and what you don't want. If you like it like it is, then go ahead, keep it going. But you may want to change some things. You may not like the storyline. You can go back in and edit. You can go back and say edit chapter 2 and put this in there, put some other stuff in there. So now it's writing chapter number 2. And I'll just copy this chapter, go to Microsoft Word, put it in there. All right, chapter 2 is finished. Copy it. Go back over to Word, put in a blank page. Put chapter number 2. Chapter number 2, 10 pages. So that's how you do it. Any questions? I mean, that's all I got. I don't have a lot. That was it's pretty simple. It's not hard. The hardest part about this whole process is actually marketing the book. Oh, you don't see that? Say that you don't see the screen. Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Let me show y'all the Microsoft Word screen. Hold on. Uh, oh, let me. I need to switch screens. Hold on a second. Share screen. Where's my Word? Hold on, y'all. All right. So this is what it looks like. This is what it looks like once I copy and paste it over. So that's 10 pages in the book already. That's 2 chapters already done. Chapter 1, chapter 2, and you just keep going. Just keep copying and pasting. And then once you get finished, and you go back and read it, and then you can decide what you want to. You see the screen now, right? Can you see the screen now? That screen right there. Once you finish typing, once you finish the whole book, then you can go back and decide what it is you want to take out, what it is you want to put in. Okay. And then what you can do is, whatever you want to change, all you gotta do is go in there and change it, and take out stuff, and ask the chat GPT to rewrite it again for you. So you just say rewrite chapter 2, or put this in chapter 2. So tell it what you want to put in chapter 2, and it'll put it in there. So all right. Any questions? Because it's pretty simple. The hardest part about this whole process is actually marketing your book. Like once you get it up on, you got a question, hit type it in chat. Once you get the book done, get the covers done and things like that, the hardest part about this is actually selling the book and marketing the book. And that could be fun. So it may not be hard. It could be a lot of fun. But if your goal is to make a lot of money, it's a business at the same. It's a business. So you have to treat it like a business, which means you got to put some time into it. Like we did a pop-up yesterday. When I tell you I was exhausted, like I was there at 8 o'clock to set up at Macy's. So Macy's is a partner with us. I was at Macy's at 8 o'clock to set up. That was something that I arranged for the women of our chamber, to be able to pop up inside of Macy's. And so they popped up yesterday, and they're gonna pop up again in November for Small Business Saturday. So because I have all these books, I was like, well, I'm gonna take my books, I'm gonna sell my books, but I was exhausted. So doing book signings, and creating content for your book, and all of these different things, that's where the work comes in. Like this is really easy. Even when you go through the editing process, that's really easy. um how do you publish? Well, that's a whole nother ball game right there. So the publishing part, like once you actually write the book, do your cover and all that, then you have to decide where you want to publish at. Most people, when they first start out, they start out on Amazon, and Amazon KDP. And Amazon is pretty simple to get started with. But if you want mass distribution, like my last book is mass distribution. So I'm on Amazon. I'm on all of the major publishing platforms, Barnes and Noble. I'm in Spotify, on audio books, Google Books, Apple Books. I'm everywhere. So that's a whole nother process. And that's a long process. But those are the things you're gonna have to do. A lot of people start with Amazon because it's pretty simple to start. It's a little technical, but it's simpler. And once you get on Amazon, you're on Amazon. The thing about that is when you get on, if you go through the other platforms, Amazon don't, you don't want to publish on Amazon first if you want to go through all the other platforms. You want to be on the other platforms first and then let it syndicate to Amazon. If you say I only want to be on Amazon, then you only publish on Amazon. Amazon has what they call Kindle Direct Publishing, KDP, and you can list your book exclusively on Amazon and you can make a little bit more money. But people, if they're not in the countries that Amazon serve, then they can't get your book. So Amazon may not be in certain parts of Japan, then your book won't be available. Now Amazon is the largest book retailer in the world, but there are other retailers too. So how to publish, that's a whole nother ball game. And maybe at some point I'll do some kind of class on that. That's a class. Like this is a brief to tell you how to get started. To actually publish is a whole class because it takes a lot more than just writing a book. It's going to take you knowing how to go in there and technically move stuff around and change stuff and things like that. So yeah, I may do something like that later on. But it's a great process. Now, you may say, I don't want it on Amazon at all. I want to get my book ordered and I want to sell it. I want to keep all the money because I will tell you this: when you publish through these different platforms, they're going to take a chunk of your money. They're going to take a nice chunk, right? Amazon is going to take about. So I had a client 2 months ago. He wrote a book. I showed him how to do it through KDP. I mean through Amazon, and he was calculating his money, right? He was like, well, if I sell like 10,000, I'm gonna get like 50,000. And I said, no, that's not what you're gonna get. You're not gonna get 50,000 if you sell 10,000. He said, what you mean? He said, because it only cost me, I think his book was 80 pages. So when you buy your book wholesale from Amazon, you pay like my book, like this book is 179 pages. And for me to buy wholesale from Amazon, it's like $3.17, right? And then you up the price so that you can make profit. So he wasn't thinking about that. He was thinking about not buying from Amazon. He was thinking about people going on there, like 10,000 people going online and buying 10,000 of his books. And I was like, yeah, you're not gonna get $10,000. I said, you're not gonna get 50,000. I said, what you mean? He said, what you mean? I said, well, you got to think about this. Amazon is going to cost you, let's say, $3 to print the book. He says, oh, okay. I said, then they're going to take 55% of the retail after the printing cost. He goes, oh my God. And so really his royalty on, if he sold 10,000 books here, his royalty would probably be like $3. So he'll make 30,000 versus 50. So you have to think about it like that. You don't if they're doing all the work after you write, they're gonna take a big chunk of your money. And that's all of them pretty much. They got some that don't take a lot, but for the most part, all of the publishers take a big chunk of your money because they do a lot of the work. Like they print now, and they don't do marketing for you. So even though your book is sitting on Amazon and Barnes and Noble and Spotify, you still have to market that book. That's why I say that's the hardest part of the book. The hardest part is the process because you still have to be the one putting out content. Like I do a newsletter, and if you guys have not, please subscribe to my newsletter. I'm going to drop a link in here. I do a newsletter, right? And the reason I do my newsletter is to talk about it's called thebookpreneur.com. The reason I do my newsletter is to talk about the publishing industry, but at the bottom of every newsletter, and I can show it to you. Let me show it to you. I probably can show it better. Stop screen share. I'm going to show it to you. The reason I do the newsletter is to talk about the book publishing industry, but in every issue of my newsletter, I have a copy of my book at the bottom with a link to Amazon. Hold on, I'm going to show you what it looks like. So that's marketing. And that's what you have to think about. Like, okay, I got to market all the time. And for some people, that's a little bit of that's kind of daunting. So this is my newsletter. I talked about I was going to have this event today. So when you open up the newsletter, It's talking about today. I talked about what I'm going to be talking about. It's talking about it's talking about the Lion Legacy. I'm turning into a movie because I am. That's about the film. And if you scroll down a little bit further, it's information about the book that's linked to Amazon. So if anybody click on this link, it goes directly to Amazon. They can purchase. But I do this every week. I write a newsletter every week. I talk about what's going on in the industry. I talk about my life as a bookpreneur. I talk about things that I found out. These are all the past issues of the newsletter. I use a lot of AI art, as you can see here. But that's a part of marketing. Then I'll go to my YouTube channel. I'll do some YouTube stuff, and then I'll syndicate that across not TikTok, yeah, TikTok and Instagram to my pages over there. Right here, talk about the movie. I talk about guerrilla marketing. That's my course. Amazon Live. It's all of these things right here. So that's the hard part, And if you don't like marketing, this is going to be a problem for you, and you don't want it to be a problem. So that's something to think about. If you want to do it as a business, like I've been in media for 20 out of the 27 years I've been an entrepreneur, 25 of them has been in media, publishing and stuff like that. So I love this. This is what I do. But if it's just something like a side hustle, like if you're an event planner, if you want to create an event planning guide for beginners, right? And you're going to sell it at all of your pop-ups because you host events, now people can buy the book because they come to your pop-ups, they support your pop-ups, and they may want to think about starting an event planning business too. Or you might just want to do a book on pop-ups, which is a good idea, actually. I don't know if anybody has done that one, but if you like to do pop-up, we did a pop-up yesterday, you got to think about electric and all the little things that go in a pop-up, and you can do pop-up booth success. And, it's so many things you can do, right? But you got to ask yourself why you're doing it. Is it a business? Is it an ancillary product to your business? Is it just a passion product? You don't really want to make any money from it. You just want to write a book and say, I wrote a book. What is it about? Why are you doing it? And so that would be the one thing I would say, think about before you take the journey. Now you can do the book and you can send it over to Amazon and you can get you some copies and everybody in your family can sign a copy. You get a signed copy and you be like, that's it. That's all I wanted to do. I just want to see could I do it. Or you can say, you know what, I want to take this book. I want to do workshops around the book and I want to, show people how to do pop-ups and, all this kind of stuff and decorating. And, now you got a book. So when you do your workshop, you got a book to sell. So any questions? Any questions, comments, thoughts before we go? Because that's it. That's all I got. Pretty simple. No, no questions, no thoughts, nothing. Was it that good or was I that confusing? Which one was it? That good or that confusing? Maybe I lost everybody. All right. Well, no, it was great information. Helped refresh my memory. Cool. Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. Listen, I'm glad to hear that. It's a great opportunity right now, y'all. It's a great opportunity. Thank you, Alice. It's a great opportunity for us to take advantage of it. People are doing children's book. Like I consulted with somebody just the other day about doing a children's book. As a matter of fact, I did a character of my let me show y'all this before I go because this is funny. I did a character of my granddaughter. Hold on a second. I'm gonna pull up one of my other accounts for something else so I do a lot of graphics with my book and I use this company called Leonardo. I'm going to share this screen with you 1 second. This is where I did my book cover at. And the same thing, you go in there, you type in a prompt and whatever you want your book cover to be or whatever you're trying to produce, you go in there and you say, hey, create this and create that. I'm going to show y'all in a second. All right, cool. All right, I'm going to stop sharing. And then I'm going to go back and share again. All right, so this screen right here, this is where I go and create a lot of my graphics, right? This is called Leonardo. And I go in here and I create a lot of graphics, but I was talking to my daughter last week, and I was talking to somebody else this week about children books. So um this was a graphic that I did for article I did recently, but this right here, that's for something I'm working on right now. But for me and a couple of partners, that little pig. Come on, you giving me. This is for one of my YouTube channels. I got a YouTube channel called Cheddar Chatter, and I'm thinking about relaunching. This is She Rocks Business. This is a cohort that we got coming up next year with Atlanta Tech Park. It's a joint venture. These are some of the pictures from my book, The Lion Legacy. These are my dream homes with my hydroponic farms on it. I want to show you this image of my granddaughter. And I showed it to my daughter, and she's like, "Oh my God, that's so cute." But people are doing whole children books this way. Now, this is a little bit more intricate because, okay, see this picture right here? That's a video actually. So I put my granddaughter's picture into this software. I uploaded a picture of her, and I said, "Create me a picture." Her book is going to be called, series is going to be called Carter and Pals. So what I did was I put a picture of her in here, and then it created this picture of her for me with her pals. So her pals are robots, and you do this because you want to keep the picture kind of consistent. So you use, because this look almost like my granddaughter. Her eyes just more slanted. So when I showed it to my daughter, she's like, "Oh my God, it's so cute." But this is a tool that I use, but you can use this tool to create children books. The whole illustrations. I remember one of my good friends. She used to edit all my books. I write a book. Her name is Sandra. Whenever I would write a book, I would send them to her and let her edit them. So she's like, I think she's a professor who edit my books. And so she decided to write a children's book, and I walked her through the process. I walked her through the process of writing a children's book, and she got a graphic designer to illustrate it. And when they illustrated the book, they charged a lot of money. They did a horrible job. By that time, AI still wasn't around, but by that time, Fiverr was around. And I said to her, "Go to Fiverr," because at that time I had did a comic strip. "Go to Fiverr, tell them what you want, let them do your book." So she went and she spent about $500 or $600. All right. So to put that in perspective, I spend about $12 a month for this service. And this is the kind of stuff I get. This is the kind of beautiful work. All of this right here is all AI. All of this. This was me doing some kind of promo for my book or something. I was doing an article for something when I was doing these. This is me doing all the artwork for my film, thank you notes, tickets to the film, the premiere, the graphics for the poster. This is all this stuff right here. So you can create entire children's books based on just that alone. So I just wanted to share that with you guys so you can see like all of the great things that you can do. Is it a lot of work sometimes? Yeah, it is, but it's a lot of fun because um now you can to the point right now where we're going to use AI to create movies. Like someone asked me today, was my movie going to be AI? And I said it's going to be part AI and part people. Like I want my main character is going to be people, but we could produce a lot of what's happening in the movie is going to be AI because they got some amazing AI tools out there right now that you can actually build an entire movie inside of AI studios and put the people in there. So, that's why someone said, "Well, how are you gonna make a movie with $50,000?" I mean, I said, "Well, you got great tools. You got great tools, and you got actors and actresses who just want to be on screen because they're trying to break into the industry. If they're good enough to be in the movie, then we put them in there. They don't want money. They want to be able to, get their names out of there, get listed in IBDM. So now when people, is IMBDM, DB, IMDb, which is where everybody that acts they're listed there. They want to be listed there as an actor, so they don't even care if they get paid for the most part. So I did a production some years ago. We had a cast of 24 people, and we paid them. We didn't pay them a lot, but we did pay them. But they didn't even care about the payment. They wanted to make sure that they got listed, their roles got listed, and they were showing up in the system as an actor. So between AI and people who want to get their names out of there, I could definitely pull a movie off with $50,000. So that's the goal, and that's how I'm going to do it. Part of the Matrix was created with was the AI, but it was created with tech. Like a lot of people don't know that. Like it was created with tech called Unreal Engine, and part of the Matrix, like all of that stuff you see with all of the graphics and all of the explosions and all that, that was created in Unreal Engine, which is a software that they use for gamers. So we got smart tools, and those tools were around before AI. Engine was around for a while when they did the Matrix. Now you got AI plus things like Unreal Engine. You just got a lot that you can put together to create some very 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 good content. All right, so no questions. If you don't have questions, no comments, I'm gonna say good night. All right. Thank you guys for joining me. I hope you got something out of this. I hope it sparked your creative juices, and I hope to hear that, you know what, I got a book. Audrey, I would love to listen. If you get a book and your book is in Amazon, come back and I'll put you on the Bookpreneur Show. We stream live on Amazon, but you got to have your book on Amazon because we want to be able to put your book inside of the cart on Amazon so people can buy it. It's like Home Shopping Network almost. Like I go live on Amazon, people are on Amazon to shop. Like I'm gonna be doing a whole lot of lives next month because guess what? It's a holiday season. So I need to make sure that I'm up there talking about my book all the time while people are shopping on Amazon because they're on Amazon to buy stuff. I want them to buy my book. So thank you again. Thank you, Georgette. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you all for joining me. Have a good evening. And until next time, make it a great day. Bye, everybody.
Want to unlock the secrets to book publishing success? Tune in to The Bookpreneur with Audrey Bell Kearney. Welcome to The Bookpreneur. Hosted by Audrey Bell Kearney, an accomplished author of 7 books and a seasoned entrepreneur with 27 years of experience. This weekly show is your ticket to the innovative world of book publishing. From traditional publishing to ebooks, low-content gems, and even coloring books, Audrey covers it all. Each week, she chats with a diverse range of authors and creators, revealing the secrets to their success and how they turned pages into profits. Whether you're an aspiring author, a seasoned writer, or a book enthusiast, The Bookpreneur offers insights and inspiration to help you monetize your literary passion. Audrey is also the CEO of Noise Media Network, known for the Good Morning Georgia and Good Morning Gwinnett podcasts. Join us on The Bookpreneur and discover how you can thrive in the ever-evolving literary economy. Subscribe now, and let's turn your love for books into a profitable adventure.